Hey everyone, it's Jay here. In this video, we're going to talk about a way of automatically setting up reminders as an Airbnb host. So first of all, why would you want to do this? Now, Airbnb does send you a few different reminders as a host. For example, they might send you a reminder a few days before the guest arrives, just to make sure that you can communicate and guide them through the check-in process. And they also prompt you to reply to the guest within 24 hours. But if you want to be a inverted commas superhost, this is probably not quite enough. So one thing I've done is I've looked through a few different blog posts and taken some tips about what sort of messages you want to send your guests. So for example, you might want to send them a message about things to do or whether they slept well after the first night, etc., etc. So I'll link to this blog and this blog in the actual blog post. But based on these recommendations and my own experience, I send about 5 different emails over various different periods when they book. So first of all, I'll send them a message once they've booked. I'll send them a message a couple of days before they arrive, just to remind them of the arrival times and transport, so if they come in from the airport. I'll also send them a message the first night, or rather the morning after the first night they've slept, just to make sure that they're comfortable in their bed. And I will send them a message the day before they leave, just to remind them of checkout times and things. So I try and keep these messages a little bit short, but it reassures them that I care about their experience and I want them to have a really good time. So this goes beyond the Airbnb default reminders that they send you. The only problem with this is it doesn't take too long to send them messages, but it can be quite difficult to remember all the messages that I plan on sending them. So there may be 4 or 5 messages in total, and I just need to remind myself to send these messages at particular times. Now, luckily, if you're on iOS, so if you have an iPhone or an iPad, there's an amazing app called Shortcuts, which is built into the operating system. And this Shortcuts app allows you to automatically build tasks at the click of a button. So you can automate all these reminders. So what I'm going to be doing is showing you how to do that, how to generate a load of different reminders automatically and make your life easy. So I'm going to be showing you this on an iPad simulator. You can do this on your iPhone as well, but I just wanted to use the iPad because it's nice and big so you can see what I'm doing. So I've gone and created this shortcut ahead of time just so I can show you how it works and then break it down and recreate it with you. So the first thing to show you is where the Shortcuts app is. It should be with your iPad or iPhone by default. If not, I'm sure you can find it on the App Store. It's made by Apple, of course. And the easiest way to find it is probably by dragging down on your screen. So you bring up this search bar and then type Shortcuts. And you can see here it is. So this is the Shortcuts app. And what we're going to be doing is creating reminders to the Reminders app. So you'll also have the Reminders app installed by default on your iOS device. So you can see here, if I click this, you'll probably have like a personal list by default. I've gone ahead and created one called Airbnb because I like to keep my Airbnb reminders separate from personal reminders. So what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and run this shortcut. The great thing is you can add this shortcut to your home screen, so you can just click it to run it, or you can also activate it with Siri. So it's really convenient to kick it off. I'm just going to click it here so you can see what it does. It's going to ask me a few questions. So what's the main guest name? I'm just going to put Terry. When do they arrive? Let's put 30th of Jan. How many nights do they stay in? So I'm going to put 6. And then it's going to run the shortcut and generate a load of reminders. So if I go now back to the Reminders app, you can see it's added 4 separate reminders here automatically on different dates. This is really, really handy because I can also see they're all to do with Terry. So typically, if Terry's arriving on the 30th, this is automatically generated a reminder 2 days before he arrives to send him my template check-in message. Also, once he arrives, it says, once I've shown him around, then I can send my arrival message. And then after the first night, so this will be on the 31st, I'll send him my first night message. And then the day before he leaves, so it's calculated this by taking the arrival date plus the number of nights he's staying, then -1. I'll send him my before leaving message. So this is really handy because I don't need to sort of think about it and manually work out these dates myself. And you can see the shortcut took a couple of seconds to run. So let's break this down. and I go back to the Shortcuts app. This comprises of 17 different actions. A lot of them will be like calculations and things, and you can see it's a very visual app, so you can put things together pretty easily once you're used to it. So let's go about and recreate this ourselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Create Shortcut, and this will do a new one. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to ask ourselves a question. So I'm going to search for ask. So we're going to ask for input. And here we're going to ask, what is the main guest's name? And then we're going to set a variable, and we're going to set the variable name to guest name. And this will be taken from whatever we add here, provided input. What we want to do is we want to set up all the variables first so it's easy to access them in future. Next question, so ask for input will be, when will the guests arrive? And again, we're going to set this to a variable, set variable. We're going to call it arrival date, and that's going to be to this input. So we need to change the input here from text because we're going to select a date. Then we're going to ask another question, which will be how many nights they stay in. And this will be a number. And we're going to set that to the variable nights they are staying. So these are all the different questions we're going to ask ourselves, and then we're going to do some calculations before we set the reminders up. What we're looking for here is something to do with the calendar, and it's adjust date. So we've already got the arrival date because we've put that in, but now we want to calculate a couple of days before they arrive so that we can set a reminder for that. So let's do subtract. This will be days, and it will be 2 days from, and here we can see at the bottom our variables. So this will be arrival date, subtracting 2 days from the arrival date. One thing we want to do here is we want to get rid of the time format. If we leave the time format in, it will take the current time as the reminder, but we always want it to be midday in the middle of the day. So I'm going to set time format to none, and this will just take the midday. Now we're going to set another variable, set variable, and this is going to be arrival date minus 2. And the adjusted date here is this subtraction that we've just made. Now we're going to do the same again. So let's go calendar, adjust date, and we're going to add 1 day. And it's automatically put arrival date minus 2 in here, but we don't want that. We want this. If I click keyboard and delete that, we want this as arrival date. Remember to remove the time format as well. As you could probably guess, we're going to set this. We're going to do set variable. So this will be the night after they arrive, or the morning after they arrive rather. So we're going to call this arrival date plus 1. Let's just get rid of these time formats, just make sure. Now for the next calculation, we need to figure out how many nights they're staying. We need to get that and then minus 1 so that we can send them a message before they leave. So let's go adjust date, and then we're going to go add, we're going to change this to days. And instead of a number, we're going to put a variable, which will be nights they are staying. So add the number of nights they're staying to the arrival date. Now we want to minus 1 from that because this will be the day before they leave. Calendar, adjust date, subtract days, subtract 1 day from this date, which is the date they leave, basically. Now we've got that, we want to set another variable, which is day before leaving. Right, so that's all the calculations done. We've got all the dates that we want. Now we're going to set up some reminders. This will be the last step. So I'm going to go reminder, add new reminder, and we're going to call this send. And then we're going to use the guest name variable, so it's personalized, check in message. And then it's going to go to, this is the Airbnb list, so yours might just be personal or whatever else you want to call it. And then we're going to add an alert, so we actually get the reminder. And that's going to be at time, and this will be 2 days before they arrive, which is already a variable that we set up. Let's put that to no time format. So that's one reminder. Next reminder, add Reminder. Send guest name arrival message. And I'm going to say once I've shown them around. So this will be like a confirmation email once so they remember what I've told them. Again, it'll be the same. This will be a bit alert, and then at time, and this will be just the arrival date. So once they've arrived, I'll send them that email. So 2 more. Add reminder. Send guest name after first night message. So this is to make sure that they've had a comfortable night's stay. You know, they like the pillows, blah, blah, blah. That's going to be alert. And at time, and this will be arrival date +1. And the last reminder, so it'll be send guest name day before leaving message with an alert. And this will be day before leaving. And that's done. So you can see the 4 reminders here. These are all the calculations. And at the beginning, we're asking questions and setting variables. So let's try this. I'm gonna name it first. Let's call it Airbnb. Let's do a nice color. You can sort of personalize this. And we can also add it to our home screen here. Let's do this. Airbnb reminders. Okay. So let's run it from the home screen. Let's click here. What's the main guest's name? Let's do Terry again. He's going to arrive on the 30th of Jan. 6 nights. And that should be it. So now if I go to the reminders, you can see we've got 4 new reminders here. One 2 days before he arrives, which is the 28th, because he arrives on the 30th. Then one on the 30th, one after the first night, and 1 day before he leaves. So he'll leave on the 5th. And that's all there is to it. So of course you can customize this to your heart's content. So you may have 5 reminders or less reminders. And don't forget, if you want to know how to add automatic placeholders to your Airbnb messages, so for example, if you want to send a message and automatically insert the name, insert how many nights they're staying, etc., then you can see my other Airbnb 2-part video series, which is called How to Automate Airbnb Placeholder Messages. Thanks a lot for listening. I hope this made your life a little bit easier.